Alright guys, so I'm going to share with you my blood test results after increasing my calories over 1 year from 2,800 calories to 3,800 calories. Over this period, my weight increased from 166 pounds to 186 pounds. So in this video, I'll talk about my diet, how my diet changed, what I did for exercise a little bit, my general philosophies on dieting and what's important in keeping a good diet. I'll show my blood work. Just it stayed exactly the same. I'm perfectly healthy still. One of the things people like to do to be healthy is they try to eat a lot of clean or organic foods. But like, what the fuck is a clean food? Like people, if you ask people what is eating clean, what is eating clean food, they'll say like one answer they like to give is like, oh, these are like healthy fats versus unhealthy fats. But like most of the recent scientific literature, like polysaturated, monosaturated, unsaturated fats show, like you want all three. And high fats is not shown to make you fat by any means. High calories make you fat, and also high fats don't. Eating a lot of cholesterol or dietary cholesterol in your foods don't scientifically shown to that doesn't to increase your actual cholesterol. Another thing people say is, oh, this food is healthy because it's. Sometimes people just say this is healthy because it's a vegetable, which is like a dumb fucking answer. Like what's so like so what? Like people think vegetables are healthy, but that's not the explanation of why it's healthier. Like it's healthier because of a specific thing. So they say, oh, it's high in some micronutrient, but having excess of a micronutrient doesn't help you be healthier at all. Like if I already have sufficient fucking vitamin B12, having more than the sufficient amount of vitamin B12 does jack shit. And it's so hard to be deficient in a micronutrient. Like the body functions healthily on pretty low levels of most micronutrients. And the way to be deficient in a micronutrient is to be so fucking retarded and mental about like eating clean and eating healthy that you cut out some food. And then when you cut out that food and that food has some micronutrient in it, like if you cut out too many foods, that's a way to be deficient in micronutrients, not from not eating enough vegetables. I eat very little fruits and vegetables, and from the blood test results I'll show you later, it's perfectly fine. I'm not deficient in anything. Overall, what the general public thinks is a clean food, that's controlled by which fucking market of the food industry markets their message the hardest. So there's a bunch of people in like in the grains industry that sells like bread and like cereals, and they're like, oh, fucking like fat is unhealthy, stay away from all like all these like saturated fats, and they just blast bullshit saying like fat is bad for you. There's no proof that that's the case. And then the fat industry, the meat industry, is like, oh, fucking like sugar's bad for you. But like, I mean, sugar. I'll go in more detail about sugar later. But the whole point is all marketing. And then within the fats, the avocado producers like, oh, like our fat is a healthy fat. Like, what the fuck does that mean? That does enough saying what the fuck not to care about. What do I prescribe? What do I think is healthy? I think eating a balanced diet is healthy. I think you shouldn't cut anything out of your diet. If you eat everything, if you just don't eat anything to excess, you're fine. So as long as you don't eat anything so much and don't cut out anything entirely, and even if you eat things to excess, you're still fine. I think being over like if you're overweight and too fat, that's bad for you, obviously. And to control that, calories is pretty much the only thing that matters. And a lot of people say, oh, but like fucking like low fat works for me, or like keto works for me. So there's a lot of diets, including like low carb diets, low fat diets, keto diets. All of them work. Most of them work effectively by controlling your hunger. So if you're on a low carb diet, for example, it works because you're less hungry. If you cut out carbs for a long time, you'll notice that you just eat less food because you're just like, and then when you reintroduce carbs, you fucking like gorge yourself again because it tastes so good. But when you cut out a food, you eat less because you're cutting out that food, and like all food tastes shittier, so you eat less overall food and you're lower on calories. So that's why you're losing weight. And there's some diets that messes with your water retention in the short term. Now I'm gonna go into the details about my diet. I kept a food lock, so I used MyFitnessPal, or alternative called Fat Secret now. So I tracked what I ate and how much I weighed pretty much through the entire year. I started out eating 2,800 calories, and that macronutrient split is 230 grams of proteins, 80 fats, and 290 carbs, and very low alcohol. And I kept that pretty consistent reasonably consistent from day to day. And then I went up to 3,800 calories, which is where I'm at now. Macronutrients, I try to get 180 grams of proteins, and I'm averaging out about 170 grams of fats per day, 330 grams of carbs per day, and I'm averaging about 250 calories from alcohol per day. And also on top of that, composing of those macronutrients, I'm averaging about 150 grams of sugar per day and 35 grams of fiber per day. And the macronutrient and also the sugar is pretty inconsistent, and the alcohol is I would say it's highly inconsistent from day to day. I mean, there are weekends where I just drink 15 drinks, and I'm not drinking 250 calories from alcohol consistently from day to day, from Monday to Sunday. And then in terms of my stats, I'm 29 years old now. So last time I took my blood test, I was 28. I'm 5'9", and I don't. In terms of body fat, I don't like estimating because there's so many haters on the internet saying, "Oh, you're not actually this body fat, or whatever." But if I have to genuinely make an accurate guess, between last year and this year, I think when I was 166, I was about 15% body fat, and now that I'm 186, I think I'm still about 15% body fat. My fat levels fluctuated in between, but let's run through the blood test. My current blood test, 2017 blood test, total cholesterol is 202. This document says the healthy range is 100 to 199. But most of the other doctor friends I have say low 200s is perfectly fine if your LDL is high. And most of the research says the ratio is most important. And my HDL is 74, and above 39 is negative risk for heart disease. So my calcium is 10.3, and the healthy range is 8.7 to 10.2. I think the doctor said that number being high meant my calcium was a little bit low, but she said absolutely not to worry about it because she said that number is affected by how dehydrated I am. And when I took the blood test that morning, I definitely felt dehydrated. I woke up a little bit late and didn't drink as much water as I normally do. And normally throughout the day, I drink fucking like 2 gallons of water. So your body tries to be homeostasis. So after waking up, not drinking any water, and then drinking very little water in the morning, I was going to be dehydrated. So she said not to worry about that. I think the other interesting point is, so I've been drinking about 1 liter of soda per day for the last year. So a lot of people say, oh, the sugar's real bad for you. Oh, well, I was getting about I'd say 150 grams of sugar per day on average. My glucose serum levels is 83, and the recommended range is 65 to 99. I talked to some other people, and they said you're not considered pre-diabetic until you're 130, I think. So that's absolutely fine. Last year, my total cholesterol was 201 instead of 202. But last year was a little bit better because my HDL was 80, so it was a little bit higher even. So the ratios were slightly better last year. But anything above 39 HDL is really good. So I shouldn't be concerned this year either. Also, small differences like 80 to 74. That's just day to day. If I took a blood test again tomorrow, it's gonna be different. So it's not to worry about those small differences. And then the other thing, last year my glucose serum levels were 79 instead of 83. So and last year I was not having any soda. I actually don't like sweets. I just want calories in liquid form, which is why I'm drinking so much soda now. Yeah, so increasing my sugar intake from probably 50 grams per day to 150 grams per day made almost no, pretty much did not increase my risk of getting diabetes. And then in terms of exercise, over the year, I've been working out, weight training about 10 hours per week on average. Somewhat inconsistent from week to week. I would have like deload months where for a month I don't exercise. But apart from those, I'm usually pretty consistent about 10 hours per week. And it's high intensity, heavy squats, deadlifts with long rest periods in between. And I pretty much didn't do cardio at all. I would say I probably got in 1 hour of cardio every other week just from playing some sports. So my general message is, don't be worried about all of the things I said about in the beginning of the video. Don't worry about high fat diet. Don't worry about your calories being really high. Don't worry about fucking sugar. I think I'm pretty sure alcohol is a little bit bad for my health, but from the blood test it didn't really make a big difference. And don't worry about all the clean eating stuff. What matters most if you're trying to adjust your body weight is total calories. So just track your calories and just increase it if you want to gain weight, lower it if you want to lose weight. One last thing about calories that I found is I think a lot of people who try to lose weight, they decrease their calories a little bit. So they would cut out 150 calories per day, and all that does is ends up slowing down their metabolism, and it makes it harder for them to lose weight. So what happens is your body has a range of calories that's pretty wide where you won't gain weight or lose weight within that range, and that range for most people is about 500 calories. So if that range for you is between 2,000 calories and 2,500 calories, and you haven't been paying attention to your diet, you're probably eating 2,500 calories per day. And then if you eat 150 calories less, or even if you eat 250 calories less per day, which people think is going to make a difference, but because that's still within your range of not changing your weight, all that ends up doing is it slows down your metabolism, and over time, eventually, the range of your maintenance calories will end up being 1,800 calories to 2,300 calories. So if you want to diet, I suggest a pretty aggressive calorie cut, and then most of the other time keep your calories pretty high, but not enough to gain weight, and that will increase your metabolism, make it easier to diet later, and make you feel better. So my general message is, don't be worried about all of the things I said about in the beginning of the video. Don't worry about high fat diet. Don't worry about your calories being really high. Don't worry about fucking sugar. I think I'm pretty sure alcohol is a little bit bad for my health, but from the blood test it didn't really make a big difference. And don't worry about all the clean eating stuff. What matters most if you're trying to adjust your body weight is total calories. So just track your calories and just increase it if you want to gain weight, lower it if you want to lose weight. One last thing about calories that I found is I think a lot of people who try to lose weight, they decrease their calories a little bit. So they would cut out 150 calories per day, and all that does is ends up slowing down their metabolism, and it makes it harder for them to lose weight. So what happens is your body has a range of calories that's pretty wide where you won't gain weight or lose weight within that range, and that range for most people is about 500 calories. So if that range for you is between 2,000 calories and 2,500 calories, and you haven't been paying attention to your diet, you're probably eating 2,500 calories per day. And then if you eat 150 calories less, or even if you eat 250 calories less per day, which people think is going to make a difference, but because that's still within your range of not changing your weight, all that ends up doing is it slows down your metabolism, and over time, eventually, the range of your maintenance calories will end up being 1,800 calories to 2,300 calories. So if you want to diet, I suggest a pretty aggressive calorie cut, and then most of the other time keep your calories uh, pretty high, but not enough to gain weight. And